Good evening. Coming up tonight.
We have an update on a beloved local landmark.
Plus, an upcoming protest about gun violence on campus.
And later, more on Gamecock baseball series against the LSU Tigers.
But first, Alex Tetor is in the studio here with us now. Alex, what weather can we expect to see this weekend?
Good evening, Columbia. We're finally starting to see some of that warmer weather moving this week. I'll have the weather forecast for you this week and more for you tonight on SGTV Student News at 7.
Live from the Kennedy Greenhouse Studio.
This is Student News at 7.
Good evening, Carolina. I'm Tyler Perrone.
And I'm Caroline Smith. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Columbia's 5 Points district lost a beloved landmark last week, and now Columbians will have to find someplace new to get their daily cup of joe. The 5 Points Starbucks permanently closed on April 2nd after over 20 years of operation.
SGTV News 4 reporter Aaron Smith has the story.
This Starbucks location behind me here in 5 Points closed on Sunday after 20 years of business. This closing displaced many student workers and loyal customers. With no new owner announced for this location, this closing will be leaving a hole here in the heart of 5 Points. A former supervisor at the location who wishes to remain anonymous shared observations he began to notice after the COVID pandemic.
They were telling everybody in the company we were getting this huge raise. They hyped that raise up for a long time, missed the deadline multiple times that they were supposed to give it to us. And then when they finally did, they cut everyone's hours basically in half.
During his time working at 5 Points, he started to notice people being treated differently.
In my opinion, the way that they, as such a large corporation, treat people, specifically, employees or the people that are working hard for them. And a hot button issue for me is members of the homeless community, which there's a lot of in the 5 Points area.
In recent years, management has enacted new policies specific to the 5 Points location.
I've definitely seen people that were profiled and or discriminated against just solely based off the way that they looked, smelled. People that are just wanting to come in, warm up for a little bit in the morning. They went as far as to put locks on our restrooms. They went as far as to change our cafe hours so that we were mobile order only for the first 2 hours of the day.
This recent closure is forcing students to search for other stores to spend their time at.
I thought it was a nice Starbucks. I live in Capstone, which is super close to 5 Points, so it was really convenient for me to go there.
Everybody here in a college town likes coffee, so another coffee place closing down will just cause others to be more crowded.
For SGTV News 4, I'm Aaron Smith.
There are currently over 40 other Starbucks locations in the Midlands area, as well as many local coffee shops and study spots for students to check out.
A fire destroyed a house at the corner of Pendleton and Pine Street in 5 Points yesterday evening. Flames engulfed the house around 6:45 p.m., and smoke could be observed from campus.
Mike DeSoma of the Columbia Richland Fire Department announced that there were no injuries or deaths. The house was unoccupied and did not have power at the time of the incident.
A nearby Food Lion employee reported the fire to authorities. Firefighters controlled and extinguished the fire within 20 minutes of their arrival. Authorities have not released a reason for the fire. They are still investigating the incident.
The Party for Socialism and Liberation Carolinas announced that they will be holding a protest in response to a threat of gun violence. The threat occurred in Russell House during a PSL meeting last Monday.
An attendee stood up in front of the room and remarked about the amount of ammunition his AR-15 could hold was more than the amount of people in the room. Campus police restrained the attendee, but ultimately let them walk free after finding that they did not have a firearm on their person.
PSL and others plan to protest in front of the Russell House this Wednesday, April 12th at 4:30 p.m. John Preisner, a member of PSL, said, quote, "I think the main thing is that we are not intimidated and that we're going to be fighting back. And right now, the main thing that I'm concerned about is building the movement against fascism and against racism and bigotry," end quote.
The South Carolina women's basketball team said farewell to one of their assistant coaches last weekend. Fred Schmiel, a former assistant coach at USC, took a new position as the head coach for women's basketball at Bowling Green State University.
Schmiel was formally introduced as Bowling Green's 10th head coach at a press conference earlier this morning. Schmiel spent the last 8 seasons with the Gamecocks with head coach Don Staley.
Coach Staley said about Schmiel, quote, "Fred is results-oriented and will be an ambassador for the university in the community," end quote.
Schmiel has worked with Staley at 3 different stops, USC, Temple, and in the WNBA. In his time at USC, the Gamecocks have posted a record of 116-12 in the SEC Conference and advanced to the Final Four in the last 3 seasons.
Bowling Green State University is excited to welcome its talented new coach. BGSU President Rodney Rogers said about Schmiel, quote, "In addition to his high-caliber championship coaching experience, Coach Schmiel brings an established record in the development and support of student athletes," end quote.
Coach Staley and the Gamecock women's basketball community wish Coach Schmiel good luck at his new posting. You know, coming from the greater Philadelphia area, I know Coach Schmiel from his time at Temple. He's an absolute keeper. Bowling Green is going to do wonders with him.
He's got such a great record behind him. On behalf of the Gamecock community here and from SGTV, we wish him luck. After the break, SGTV News sports reporter Spencer Ball will have the update on Gamecock sports for you. Stay close.
SGTV News 4 sports reporter Spencer Ball has the scoop. What have you got for us, Spencer?
In arguably the biggest series of the college baseball season thus far, Gamecock baseball would split their series with top-ranked LSU. On Thursday night, the Gamecocks dominated the Tigers with their overwhelming offense, which led them to a 13-5 victory. Ethan Petrie is cementing himself as not only one of the best freshmen in the nation, but one of the best players in the nation as he hit 2 home runs and drove in 8 runs in the stellar performance. Braylon Wimmer and Dylan Brewer would each hit home runs, and Carolina's pitching would keep the Tigers' offense at bay. In the second game of the series, the Gamecocks would pick up where they left off, having big offensive outbursts in the second and fifth innings, which would give them a 7-3 lead going into the sixth. This is where Gamecock fans may want to look away as the Tigers would load the bases in the top of the 8th inning. And with one swing of the bat by Gavin Dugas, the game was knotted at 7. And it got even worse for the Gamecocks. In the top of the 9th, Cade Beloso would hit a single, scoring Dylan Cruz to give the Tigers an 8-7 lead. In the bottom of the 9th, Caleb Denny struck out to end the game, stranding 2 runners on base and giving the Gamecocks their first home loss of the season. The rain set in for the rest of the weekend, and the teams were unable to play the third game of the series. The Gamecocks host USC Upstate tomorrow night at 7 p.m. before traveling to Nashville for a highly anticipated SEC East series against division-leading and 4th-ranked Vanderbilt. Gamecock softball fell 1-2 in 9 innings of play in the first game of their weekend series against the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. Both teams' pitching were dialed in from the start, with both teams struggling to establish any offensive success. Riley Blampede had 2 of the 3 Gamecock hits on the game, but the offense would remain stagnant outside of scoring their lone run in the 5th inning. The Crimson Tide would walk it off in the 9th inning after 3 singles would eventually score Larissa Pruitt. The 2 teams would play in a doubleheader on Saturday, with the Crimson Tide taking the first game 4-0. Their star pitcher, Montana Fouts, threw a no-hitter, her second of the season. She struck out 10 batters and only walked 2 in the brilliant performance. In the second game of the doubleheader, it would be the Gamecocks getting their first win of the series behind another great pitching performance from Donnie Goborn. Goborn would throw a complete game, only allowing 3 hits and 1 run. She fanned 11 batters and kept the Crimson Tide at bay outside of a solo home run by Ashley Prange. The Gamecock offense would liven up for the first time in the series, with Jordan Fabian hitting a 2-run home run that would give the Gamecocks a 3-1 lead that they would hold on to for the rest of the game. The Gamecocks are back in action tomorrow night at 6 p.m. as they host 4th-ranked Clemson in their second matchup of the season. And for SGTV News 4, I'm Spencer Ball.
Welcome back. Joining me now is entertainment reporter Rachel Carter to fill us in on what's happening in Columbia this weekend. What do you have for us, Rachel?
The South Carolina State Fair is kicking off its Spring Fair Food Drive this coming Sunday, April 16th. Attendees can drive through the fairgrounds located at 1200 Rosewood Drive and purchase their favorite foods from the South Carolina State Fair, including but not limited to funnel cakes, cotton candy, corn dogs, and lemonade. This year, a picnic table area will be set up along the Bluff Road side of the fairgrounds to allow guests the opportunity to dine in at the event. The drive-thru will remain open through Thursday, April 22nd from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. each day, with Friday and Saturday remaining open 1 hour later and offering free movie showings for attendees dining in. Admission to the food drive is free, and the only cost is for the food itself. So I'm definitely going to have to check this out. My favorite part about the fair is the food, obviously. I always get the corn dogs, for sure.
I agree. My favorite fair food is deep-fried Oreos.
I've never actually had them.
They're really good. You wouldn't think so. One time I went to the fair and I got deep-fried cookie dough.
Ooh,
It was life-changing.
that does sound really good. I may have to check that out at the food drive.
Keep your eye open for that. What else have you got for us?
The University of South Carolina is hosting its second annual Big Gamecock Weekend, a series of athletic events presented by the Palmetto Shirt Company. The festivities kick off this Friday, April 14th, with a Carolina softball series against Texas A&M, followed by 4 matches of Gamecock beach volleyball as part of the Palmetto Invitational, and ending with a men's tennis match against Florida on Sunday. The 2023 Garnet and Black spring football game will be held on Saturday, April 15th at 7 o'clock p.m. and feature a pregame concert headlined by Patrick Davis and performances by special guests. In addition to these events, highlights of the weekend include the Cocky Trot 5K and a post-game fireworks show at Williams-Brice Stadium. More details relating to the Big Gamecock Weekend will be released later this week.
That sounds like a really fun weekend.
I know, very action-packed. I don't know if I will be participating in the 5K, but definitely going to check out the spring game for sure.
Oh, definitely. It's classic. You have to go to the spring game. And that's all your entertainment news for tonight. Coming up after the break, Alex Tetor will let you know if this warm weather sticks around. We'll be right back.
Good evening, Columbia. I'm Alex Tetor stepping in for Nicole Smith. Tonight, we're looking at a low of 40 degrees with a waning gibbous. So hang on to those jackets and coats. It's going to be pretty cold out tonight. Our humidity is going to be sitting down at 62%. That's 10% higher than our average here for Columbia at 51.2 degrees. Now looking ahead to Tuesday, it's going to be getting progressively colder throughout the day. 65 degrees in the morning is going to be our high, 48 by the afternoon, and finally here in the evening it's going to be at 40 degrees. Expect cloud coverage throughout the day. And now looking ahead at the week, like I said, Monday and Tuesday are high is 65 and 73, but by Wednesday we're getting to 77. Constant sunny coverage throughout the middle of the week, which is what we've been looking for. Summer's finally coming. Thursday, we're going to get some cloud coverage coming in. As the storm for Friday rolls in, expect precipitation between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. And Saturday, we're going to be hitting 80 degrees, finally getting a little hot here in Columbia, so we can finally break out the summer wear. That's all I have for you guys tonight. After the break, we'll have tonight's edition of Carolina K9. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us.
And finally, tonight's Carolina K9 features Cruz.
Cruz was submitted by News 4 member Aaron Smith. Cruz is a super mutt who is 2 years old.
Cruz likes to chomp the hose and run around with the zoomies.
I mean, I think that Cruz is a fantastic name. What's so funny? I think that Cruz is a fantastic name, seeing as how apparently he loves to be in the water.
Yeah.
What a fitting name.
Chomp the hose. That's funny.
How?
Have you ever seen those videos on TikTok where like people spray the water and the dogs like run in front of the?
Yeah.
I think. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Student News at 7.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SGTV at USC.
To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtvonline.com. For SGTV News 4, I'm Caroline Smith.
And I'm Tyler Perrone. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great night, Carolina, forever to be.